All right. Well, welcome to the DFL before DNF podcast. I am sitting in my car because I'm trying to get some miles in today, and I teach a class at the University of Utah on Thursday nights, and I'm just in between. I'm in between the two, and what an awesome thing to do in between the two of these things. To talk to Andrew Glaze. So, Andrew, thanks for joining me today. I'm just a fan on so many levels, and I know that you're a busy guy. You're a busy runner, family man. You got a day job still somehow. So, thanks for making some time to hang with me.
Of course, I love to talk about running.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you do still have a day job? You're still a first responder, right?
I am, yes. I'm a fire captain, paramedic.
Where are you living?
I live in Southern California, in a city called Redlands, and I work in a
Okay.
city called Laverne, which is in LA County.
I mean, is there a are you gonna go professional and running? Like, are you gonna always be able to juggle these two things?
Yeah, I think I'll be able to juggle the two things.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the things that attracted me to the fire service, besides just being able to help people, which was like the number one reason I switched job or like professions, was the ability to continue to work out while at
Mm.
work. So,
Ah, okay.
I mean, the advantage of, being a firefighter is you're at the station on call 24/7, but you also have to eat, sleep, drink, shower, shit,
Yeah.
all the things. And with all those
Yeah.
things, also working out. So, um, you know, when you're picking careers and you want to pick something that, is great, like it is an
Huh.
advantage. And I always acknowledge the fact that, I do have an advantage in, all things running because,
Yeah.
I'm paid to run.
Yeah. That's a really good perspective. If you're on a run and you're, on a shift, or you just have to stay within a certain proximity, I mean, what are the rules there?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's no rules, but essentially, I mean, the unwritten rule, and we don't want it to be written down because we try not to have things written down because then it's very rigid. But just
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
you want to stay close enough to the station so if the call goes out, you can get back to the station within like 30 or 40 seconds. So I'll
Oh,
be like
okay.
running around. We call them fire station loops, and
Hmm.
just doing little loops around the station, which are very monotonous and boring and
Yeah.
terrible. And I
Yeah.
have a radio, and the call will come out through the radio. It'll say my station identifier and what you got, and
Yeah.
literally from a casual jog, it turns into like a very aggressive sprint back to
Yeah.
the station, and put my gear on real quick, and we're out the door.
Huh.
So,
Man, on any given week, how many miles would be like those fire station miles?
I mean, it really, like, I still try to get like 15 miles a day at work.
Okay.
If I have some like super like big goal, I might try to get more, but it's not really. It's more just for getting the miles more than like enjoyment. Like I enjoy running, but I don't really enjoy running at work.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
the, I mean, I have to run in like a uniform, which is like these like really uncomfortable basketball shorts and a cotton t-shirt, and I have to
Oh.
carry like a 2 pound radio, and all these things, and I can't disengage. Like when I run, like I disengage with like reality, right? Like you're out there
Yeah.
just like enjoying the moment,
Yeah.
and I can't check out while I'm running around the station because I always have to be
Mm,
ready to get that call. And then
wow.
also it's like I work in a like busy downtown area. I have like a college across the street, and then like a
Okay.
little downtown strip with like restaurants and bars and stuff like that. So there's a lot of traffic. So, I'm
Oh
dodging
man.
cars and
Yeah.
things like that as well. So it's like it's not super enjoyable, but it's it's still miles. It's still me getting out
Yeah.
there and getting my heart
Yeah.
rate up and everything. So um and if I do have like a really stressful call or like, something's not really going great at work, which like any job, it's not
Sure.
always rainbows and unicorns. So like,
Right.
going out and running can decompress me a little bit when it comes
Mm.
to like the stress of the job.
Yeah, that is a nice aspect where you talk about picking a career that lends itself to that. A lot of times maybe people can do it on their lunch break, but not 15 miles. So that is
Right.
nice to have that time and space to decompress.
And when I say 15 miles, it's not like, it's like run a mile and a half, run a 911 call, run a half a mile, run a 911
Yeah,
call, run three
yeah,
miles, run a 911 call. So it's
that
not,
is crazy.
and I can only run like early in the morning and like late at night, or like not late at night, but like dinner time and later. Like we
Yeah.
still have, even though we're 24/7, like we still have working hours from, like 8 to 5 where we're like supposed to be like doing fire related stuff.
Okay.
But but when it's like nighttime and whatnot, that becomes more of our time, and you know,
Okay.
yeah.
Have you
So
pulled anyone in your crew into your world? Has anyone gotten excited? I see you've done like a challenge with other
yeah.
firefighters to run 100 miles in a month, but have you dragged anyone into your level?
Uh, Not at my department. I have a couple
Yeah.
guys that are doing the LA Marathon next month at my
Oh, cool.
department, and I mean indirectly, like I've run a lot of ultras where I've run into firefighters that started running ultras because of me. Like
Yeah.
I've done Coldwater Rumble. I ran with one of the guys from Goodyear Fire, Coldwater's in Goodyear, Arizona.
Okay.
And
Yep.
I was just doing Rocky Raccoon. I ran with a bunch, which
Yep.
is in Texas. I ran with
Yep.
some guys that were from the Houston area, and then also the Dallas area that follow me and stuff. So I think there's a fair amount of fire ultra runners, and I'm not going to take like 100% credit because David
Yeah.
Goggins is pushing people to run ultras as well,
Sure. Yeah.
and I guess he's decided that he's going to be a firefighter now too, although slightly different what he's doing
I
and
didn't
what
know
I'm
that.
doing.
Okay.
Yeah, well, he does like the like smoke
Wildland.
jump, yeah,
Yes. I
in
can see that.
Canada or something like that. So it's I'm in a city, and I'm paramedic and things like that. But yeah, so I'm sure like anything Goggins does, he's going to pull people to, and then
Sure.
regardless of how you feel about him, he's not as prevalent on social media, and since I'm like posting every day and everything, it's probably easier to
Yeah.
follow me,
Yeah.
his one post a month or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I like Goggins. One of the things I like about him is that he pulls so many people into intentionality in their life, and I'm a huge fan of that. Massive respect, and
Yeah,
and it sounds like you're doing that too within the world where you have influence, and
right.
what
Yeah,
better sport to pull somebody into?
exactly. And it's my daily reminder to do hard things, and all the things I do. It's like
Yeah.
it's it's just that mental training that we do, and it doesn't have to be about ultra running. It can be about half marathons, or it can be about bike riding, or
Yeah.
anything. But just training that brain to
Yes.
do the things we don't want to do, so that when something really comes up that's hard, we know how to handle it.
Yeah.
There's life
Hmm.
is. I try to teach my kids all the time, like life is very hard. Life is just a series of very complex problems, and um, we're just always trying to figure them out. And
Yeah.
if when it gets hard, we feel overwhelmed, or like we don't know how to deal with it, and then we give
Mm.
up, and um, that's what leads to failure in a bad way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I know I'm ripping somebody off with this. I just don't know who, but the idea of we go through voluntary suffering so that when we face real suffering, we have at least some tools for it that we might not have had otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. For me in the fire service, like we run a lot of 911 calls that are just medical aids, and then
Sure.
we'll go like all these medical aids, which are they can be very mundane, and then you have like a ripping fire, which is very stressful and
Mm.
dangerous,
Yeah.
and you got to be able to like handle it.
Yeah.
You can't just like because it's complex or difficult, like give up. So
Yeah.
part of my training is to get through ultras, and then part of my training is to get through the stressful situations at my job, and
Yeah.
then
It
also
seems like they both
like
become better as a result of the other.
yeah, and then just in general, life is stressful, you know, having
Yeah.
3 kids, like
Yeah.
trying to raise kids in this world right now is, it's pretty
Yeah.
challenging. You know,
What are their
and
ages?
so so they're like literally in a week or so, they're going to be 13, 12, and 9. I have 2 that have birthdays in like
Okay.
a week. So,
Nice.
yeah, it's, it's, it's one of those,
Wait, is one
hidden.
of them becoming a teenager this week or next
Yeah,
week?
yeah. So, but
Whoa.
I mean, they all act like teenagers anyways. So
Sure. But that's quite a
I feel
milestone.
yeah, kids have progressed a little bit quicker than maybe I did
Yeah.
when I was a kid. You know,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
when I wanted to learn something as a kid, my wife always makes fun of me, but I'm like, I literally had an encyclopedia set
I
that
did
was
too.
at my grandparents'
Britannica.
house,
Yep.
and I read the entire thing, like
Yep.
that was the only way to get knowledge. You
Yes.
know, that or the library, but like you know, it wasn't super easy to go to the library,
It's
and
crazy to think how pervasive those like Encyclopedia Britannica, or I had World Books, like these white
world books
ones.
too. Yeah, my grandparents had the world books too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we totally. I remember looking at my. I would always look. I was terrified of snakes as a kid, so I'd always go to look up snakes. And there was this picture of an anaconda in the back of the World Book, and I just
Right.
remember, God, what a different way to learn things than our kids are now.
And now our kids can watch a like full video on anaconda.
Right.
You know, some
Yeah.
guys down in wherever, like wrestling one or something. I mean, it's
Yes.
insane the amount of knowledge that they have
Yeah.
access to and like are taking advantage of. Like, it really blows my mind. You know, so where we had to really seek it out, it's just punching them in the face at all times. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because I don't know if their brains are developed enough to be able to take it all in, but you know, they're getting it regardless. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting world to raise kids in, I guess
Yeah.
is my
Yeah.
point. And then, you know, it's stressful and, you know, it's just another thing that mentally training yourself helps you,
Mm.
you know, be able to like navigate.
Yeah.
But I don't know that type of stuff. Sometimes there's no real answer. It's just challenging.
Yeah. I heard that one of the great antidotes to the crazy world our kids are growing up in is family dinner. It's like just being more connected, like as we're more connected through our phones, that being connected and other, like in face to face, eyeball to eyeball, in person, is supposed to, it sounds so easy and intuitive
Yeah,
say, but
yeah.
like just being together, present, it's harder
Which
said than
is
done.
which is challenging too because when kids have extracurricular
Oh
activities,
my gosh,
they're
that
all
blows
like
my mind
dur-
too.
during dinner time, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you're during dinner time, you're driving from point A to point B, like dropping one off,
Yes.
picking the other one up, dropping the
Yeah.
other one off, like
We're
so.
just entering into that with our three. We've got a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So we're just entering into this chaos of oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I can't believe the we have 5 minutes to get from one side of town to the other and all that.
exactly. It gets challenging. You put a lot of miles on your car, but it's only
Yeah.
like, you know, 2 or 3 miles at a time.
Where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in Redlands,
Oh, okay.
but when I was 16, I got sent away and didn't really come back until I was, I think, like 20, 29, 28, 29.
Oh,
So yeah, I went to college in upstate New York. I lived in Portland, Oregon for like 7 years. I lived in New York City. I lived in Dallas, Texas. So I bounced
okay.
around in my 20s and tried to find the best place and then ended up back where I grew up.
Came back
So
home. Did you
yeah,
run in college?
no, I was super unhealthy in college. I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. And couple years of college, I was like pretty overweight. Um, did not, my resting heart rate in college was like 85.
Dang.
So at like, you know, 20 years old. So I was
Mm.
really, really unhealthy.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that was back, you know, ephedra was legal back then. So I was like
Oh
probably
man.
taking a large amount of stimulants to like stay awake and like,
Yeah.
you know, do college. And
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 46. My birthday,
Okay.
I just turned 46 on Sunday. So it's like now I got to start telling myself you're 46, you're not 45 anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
on the downward trend to 50,
Right.
almost almost dead. So
Nice. I mean, but what a great example you are. because where I come from in West Texas is a, let's just say on average, I don't want to shit on them too much, but I grew up in West Texas, and it's a rather unhealthy. There's not even sidewalks in town, so if you want to run, you have to run in the street. And
Right.
but if you're wearing running shorts on the street and all the cowboys in their big vehicles are coming by, that can be problematic for them. No one's running in shorts like you run in. Those are
Right. Yeah.
just too those are
I
too
would,
short for West Texas.
I would be in trouble. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, definitely, I've had some high school kids run by and in their cars and try to hit me with their doors and stuff.
Yeah. Man.
It happens. But yeah, I am lucky that I live where I live. Although,
What
yeah.
if you had a like? I mean, you're on week 205, I believe, of your streak of 100 miles per week. What woke you up? Like what from healthy, unhealthy, self-proclaimed unhealthy college guy to where you are now, a 46-year-old, probably with the body of a 30 something. What woke you up?
So I mean, so I went through college unhealthy. I so I got I mean, I was unhealthy in college, but I made an agreement with my dad that I would stay sober and he would pay for college. So
Okay.
I was unhealthy in the sense that I smoked cigarettes and stuff like that, but I didn't do any drugs or alcohol through college.
Okay.
And then after college, once I was done, I was like, all right, baby, we're going hard in the paint now, and started drinking and doing drugs after college, because
Okay.
I could. When I
Yeah.
make a commitment to someone like my dad, like I would do it. But then after that, I didn't
Mm,
have that commitment. So after college, it kept getting worse because now I've incorporated drinking into the mix,
yeah.
um, and just pot and whatnot. But I guess what happened was I just started feeling terrible. I started
Mm,
getting like really depressed and anxious, and I was in my like early 20s, maybe a couple years post college, and was having panic attacks and just feeling like I was going to die.
hmm,
And so and there's like no real like information on what to do, but like someone, and I don't even remember who it was, like said like, hey, why don't you try working out?
hmm,
And so I was like, okay. In my mind I was like, okay, let's do it. And went to 24-hour fitness and paid like whatever it was for like 12 trainer sessions. Got a
okay.
personal trainer because although I had like played sports in high school and stuff, like I didn't really know what I was doing. So
Yeah.
I was like, I'll pay someone. He can give me like a workout routine,
Hmm,
because where do you get a workout routine? Um, in the 90s was like, you'd have to buy a book, right? So I was like,
right.
so this guy like, taught me about muscle groups and told me, lift this, lift that, gave me a routine, had me on the elliptical trainer, doing cardio. And
Yeah.
I instantly started feeling better.
Hmm,
So,
amazing.
yeah, I mean, fast forward that like several months. And then I was like, you know what, like, I want to learn more about this. So, I was in Portland, Oregon at the time, and we have in Portland like a really good community college
Yeah.
network where like adults can just like take community college classes. It's like super easy to sign up. So I was like, I'm going to take a class on exercise science and like learn more about
Hmm,
this. So I
hmm,
did. And in the class, I had to run a mile and a half. So you had to run it like day one and then the last day of class. And, obviously the idea was that you improve.
yeah.
Um, so, the first mile and a half was terrible. I sprinted it like as hard as I could. And, I was like 2 laps ahead of everybody. Like I start lap 5 and like my whole body shuts down. And then by the sixth lap, like people are passing me and I limp in. And then I was so sore for like 2 weeks. Like I couldn't even sit on the toilet. I was just wrecked.
Mm,
And so I was like, well, A, I had to like get better at this
yeah.
for the class. And B, I was like, I don't ever want to be this sore again.
Yeah.
So thinking that if I kept running, that I would never be sore like that again. Little did I know I'd be, running 200-mile races and,
Yeah.
all this crazy stuff. But yeah. And it's like ever since then, I just have always incorporated running into my workouts. I did a lot of weightlifting for a long time. And I've done all sorts of sports since then. So
Hmm.
basically that was sort of like the origin was like mental health, getting better and feeling better. And
Yeah.
obviously when you do something that makes you feel good,
Yeah.
you don't want to stop. Um,
Yeah.
and I think I mean, the anxiety and panic attacks and stuff I was feeling was like, I'm obviously wired in a way where like I need to move and I wasn't moving. My body was
Yeah.
like, hey, like you're killing yourself.
Yeah.
And um, yeah, once that fire inside like started burning, it's like just gotten like more and more as time's gone by. So yeah.
What would you say, or how would you speak to like 205 weeks? I mean, of all the obstacles, and I know that there's a bunch. One that comes to mind for me is simply being injury free and being able to do that, or at least bad enough injury to stop you from doing it. Maybe you clearly
Yeah.
had some
Yeah. I mean,
moments.
I get slight injuries. I think like the injuries that would stop me would be like overuse injuries or,
Yeah.
things like that. But, I've definitely had a couple big hiccups. Mostly they're all trauma related. I
Mm.
tend to fall a lot. Um, I don't know if it's like I fall a lot or just because I run so much. Like,
You're right.
you know,
Yeah,
that,
maybe
that
you fall an average amount, but you're
yeah,
running quite.
average amount. But when you put how many miles I run, it's like, yeah, you should fall that many times over that many miles. But most people run like what I run in a lifetime, and I'm
Right.
running it in like a short period of time. So,
Right.
um, I have a lot of trauma related injuries. And then also like my job's super dangerous, and I have a couple
Mm.
injuries that I got like at work. Like one time I was in a fire and a wall fell on me and it like messed
Oh,
my
damn.
ankle up, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think I didn't think my streak would go this long. I mean, I did a 28-week streak in like 2018, 2019, and I had a really bad race and DNF'd, and that ended that streak.
Hmm.
So I just
And was
assumed
that a
when,
100 miles a week streak?
yeah, but it was like straight 100 miles. Like I was only running
Oh,
like 100 miles a week. Whereas like now, I mean, I say 100-mile a week streak, but I always put
yeah.
the like plus next to the 100 because it's like really
Right.
I'm running like, mostly my weeks are like 140, 150. And,
I know. So that's one of the things that blows my mind a little bit. Like if it were me, and clearly we're different. So I'm just saying, if it were me and my goal is 100 miles a week, I would probably stop at 100. But like
right.
even your 200-mile week, one of your videos I saw is like, I was going for 200 this week and I got 207, and I'm just thinking, why, why?
Why get the extra seven? Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
What
well, it's like, I
is
mean,
that?
like,
Just is that a flex?
no, it's just, I mean, I just like to run. So it's like, if it works
That's
out, like
awesome.
last week, I ran jackpot 100 on
Yep.
Friday.
Okay. I
So
saw that.
so at Friday, I was at 130 something miles. And then Saturday, I only ran, I think like 5 miles. I ran it with my wife. So then I
Hmm.
was like, and then Sunday, I like, obviously I could have done nothing, but I went out around 15 miles, like,
Yeah.
because it's just another day. Like I run far every day. It doesn't, the streak,
Yeah.
people think it's about the streak, but it's like really not about the streak. It's about the
You
fact that
you
like
happen to have a streak, but
I
you're
happen to
just
have
you
a
just want
streak,
to
but I
run.
love to run. So
Yeah.
it's like,
I
that's
get
why
that.
there's no like consistency. Like one week I'll do 120 and then it'll be 157 and then it'll be 111. And then it's like whatever I
Wow.
can fit in, like
That's
life
what you
is
do.
busy. And some weeks I can only do 120 and some weeks I can do 180. And if I didn't have a job and I didn't have a family and I didn't have kids, man, I'd be running 200-mile weeks. I really would. But I have all that stuff and everything
Right.
gets in the way. And so
Sure.
it's more or less like, how many miles can I get in a week?
Yeah.
That's always the objective for me.
Yeah.
And the more, the merrier.
Yeah.
So, and then there's like, you mix in like races and, getting sick and things like that. Like if you look
Right.
at my weeks and it's like, I'm at like 106 or 105, you know that either I'm nursing like a pulled muscle or
Yeah.
I got a flu or um, I'm recovering from like a 200-mile race. I mean, those
Yeah.
are the weeks like, and those weeks were very hard for me to get done. But
Yeah.
that is like the minority of the 4 years is a couple of weeks like that.
Hmm. So what at this point, like I'm building up, I'll be going for my ninth 100 miler, and when I get it on the calendar, like I get super excited. It motivates me for a long season.
Okay.
Uh, and again, totally okay with us being different, and maybe that's just the answer. Me towing that starting line of that 100 miler because of what it takes for me to get there. That's quite a moment for me. Like I'm super excited. In the last 4 weeks, you've got sub 24 hours on 300 milers, and you
Yeah.
went on a jog the next day, and then the next day. Is what gets you really like excited? Butterflies in your stomach. Like, does every race still do that for you? You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean?
I get super scared. I see. I don't get excited. I get like really scared and
Hmm.
anxious before races, mostly because I have DNF'd quite a few races and I've had like some pretty
Yeah.
bad things happen to me. And I think the reality of a 100 mile race is one, 100 miles is really far. And
Yeah.
two, so many things can go wrong and they're not always in your control. So, that being said, like it's scary, right? Because you put all this energy and effort into getting to that starting line, and something might happen, and you might not finish. Which
Yeah.
to me is the beauty of ultra running. Because
Yeah.
if it was like guaranteed, then I wouldn't be interested in it, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking for experiences where even me, who's run, and I don't even know because I lost track, but we'll say quite a few 100 milers, like and I feel like I have them. I understand them quite well, but like even me, I still am scared of failing
Hmm.
um, every time. Um, so and there's beauty in that. There's beauty in that, like that
Absolutely.
fear. Like I think we all should stay scared, and we should all like
Yes.
you know respect the respect that we're doing something extremely difficult
Yeah.
and not take it for granted. Like Carl Metzer, the like whatever speed goat dude, is like, oh,
Yeah.
100 miles isn't that far. It's like, I want to be like, dude, fuck off. How about that? How
Yeah.
about, you
Yeah.
know, like that's so the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like it is far. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't like that attitude because it
Yeah.
really is, it's a challenging distance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for you, you know, you failed or whatever, but like there's beauty in failure too. And when you
Yeah.
eventually cross that finish line, it is going to feel so amazing.
Yeah.
And you're going to, have all sorts of reflection. And sometimes it's just getting past that like last mental hurdle that
Yes.
you've got to figure out to get there. But it's going to feel so like amazing.
Yes.
Um, and that final it's like putting that final puzzle piece down on the board, and then
Yes.
you're gonna be in a good spot, and like it'll build confidence, and like also you're gonna have all those failures to like go back on. So when you race in the future, you're gonna be like, oh, I'm feeling like this, and
Mm.
that led to a failure at that race, so I got to make
Hmm.
sure I don't do that again.
Yeah.
All my failures, I go back and I like analyze them like so intensely
Hmm.
so that I try not to do it again. Now, I might do it again. Something might happen.
Sure.
But if it happens again, hopefully in my analysis, I have figured out a way to come up with a plan B. So, if I feel nauseous, then I'm going to do this. If I'm
Mm.
throwing up and I can't stop throwing up, I'm going to do this. If I get really bad chafing
Mm.
and, whatever, these are the things I'm going to do so that I can fix the chafing. Or if I start to
Yeah.
feel like I'm chafing before I get to that point, I'm going to do this. All those things. If I start to like feel a little crampiness in my muscles,
Hmm.
I'm going to do this so it doesn't progress into
Hmm.
debilitating cramps. And these are all things I've learned through failure, through DNFing races.
Yeah.
Because I've failed races from, uh, cramps, chafing, stomach
Hmm.
problems,
Hmm.
and I've also failed things through like things that I really couldn't like fix or control, like trauma, like
Yeah.
falling. I stepped in a hole once and twisted my ankle real
Ugh.
bad. Like just things
Yeah.
like you can't, necessarily control. I mean, you can control. Don't step in a hole.
Yeah.
Like last year, I Moab, I fell off, fell backwards onto my back. Don't do that. But I mean, in general, those are things that are less controllable and more just,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, more like, hey, and that's why it's scary, right? That's why I'm
Yeah.
scared every time. Like,
Yeah.
because certain things you are just, I mean, you're running on a trail, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
You're not running on like a nice paved trail. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's just what you got to do. You got to you have all these quote unquote failures, but you hopefully learn something from each one. And then you're just going to keep building on that. And then, hopefully not repeat why
Yeah.
that happened, why this happened. And, um,
Is there a single moment that you could recall? And again, because my battle is mental. Outside the trauma thing, we are
yeah,
certainly aligned on that. If it's trauma, that's one thing. Mine is often mental. I had a gout and rhabdo issue. That one was like yeah, I needed to quit that one.
right.
Other ones, it's like, gosh, I think maybe I could have done it. And
Yeah.
is there a moment for you where it's like, are you ever like genuinely contemplating a quit outside of trauma? Like you're on the run. I know you said you have because of the chafing or all that, but a moment where you're genuinely contemplating it and you also decide not to.
Every race I have, my body tells me to quit. And
Hmm.
every race I have, I struggle with this internal dialogue of wanting to quit.
Hmm.
Like, and it's normally pain related. I'm normally in like a lot of pain for something, and I start to like go down the rabbit hole in my brain of like, am I injured? What's going
Yes.
on? Why do I feel like this? Uh,
Yes.
but because I've done it so long that like at this point, I'm like, I just tell my brain like, your body's fucking lying to you right now. You are this motherfucker
Um,
is lying,
huh.
and my ankles are fine. I don't care if there's a lot of pain in my ankles right now. In
Mm,
10 minutes, that pain's going to be in my lower back, and then it's going to be
mm,
in my hips, and then it's going
mm.
to be in my shoulder blades, and
Wow.
I just work through that. And honestly, that's what happens. It's like my ankles hurt real bad, and then it'll be my hips, and then
Yeah.
it'll be my lower back, and then
Wow.
it'll be my whatever. And it just like my body goes through this like process of like just being achy and painful, and then
Yes.
after a while, it just all goes numb.
Yeah.
And not numb in like the sense of like I don't experience pain anymore.
Not like a
That
leper.
Yeah, but the pain is like less acute in like specific
That
regions.
yes.
Um,
Hmm.
and
I've
and
never survived that. I've never survived that. I've never stuck around long enough. But you're right. Like the warm car ride home,
Yeah,
my my ankles are fine. But in the
right.
moment, it's
Yeah.
like I'm
It's
my
literally
ankles.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not a doctor or a coach or anything, but
Sure.
from my scientific
But
analysis of myself,
anecdotal is
yeah,
often more
my
valuable.
anecdotal evidence is essentially that your body, like your pain receptors eventually give out. Like, and the best way I can like explain it is like when
I
you get
love
a
it.
blister and you're running,
Yeah.
and you can feel is that blister, and it
Yeah.
hurts so bad, and like that the blister is popped, the skin is ripped off, and you just have that raw skin just
Yeah.
rubbing against your sock and your shoe or whatever, and you're like, oh my god, this hurts so freaking bad.
Yeah.
um, and after 10 miles you don't feel it anymore. Why is that? Because
Hmm.
essentially the pain receptors just like are like, okay, if you're not going to listen, I'm just going to shut the fuck up. I
That's
mean,
great.
they really do. Like, you kick a rock and you're like, I think I broke my toe. I mean, this
Yeah.
hurts so freaking bad. Like, I think I
Yeah.
could feel my toenail crack,
Yep.
and, and it hurts and it hurts and it hurts. And then 10 miles later, like, you wouldn't even know you kicked that rock. Like, it's a weird
Yeah.
experience to put your body through, these races, because you do have to survive like a fair amount of like discomfort. But
Yeah.
and like I said, I experience it every race. Every race I want to quit. Every race I go through this like these low periods where I'm feeling all these weird pains and aches and all this stuff. And
Hmm.
I and there's been times when I probably did quit, honestly, like younger points in my career, where you start to feel that pain and you experience it, and then you go, then you start making excuses like, okay, well my stomach's not really that great,
Mm.
so we'll just blame it on the stomach. Well, you ate something
Yes.
wrong, and then that's the reason why you DNF'd. But
Yeah.
is it? I don't know. The mind is
Right.
like a crazy thing. You can convince yourself of anything. Was it your
Yeah.
stomach, or was it, was it the pain, or what's the rationalization?
Yeah.
And these are things that you'll think about after the race, when you,
Right.
like, when you said, like, I probably could have finished, like, you'll go down that rabbit hole in your brain, and you're like, and maybe you'll only admit it to yourself, but you're like, I think it was just a weakness, and I was just being weak,
Mhm.
and that's
Yes.
okay. Like, these are the
Yeah.
things that we're trying to work through.
This is
Uh,
why we're out there.
yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of it, right? We're trying
Yeah.
to better ourselves. We're trying to, like, make ourselves like a better person. So,
Yeah.
in doing that, it's not a clean process. It's messy, and you know, you're going to have to, break some eggs to make that omelet, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
A couple questions as we wind down here. I am curious, when you're feeling particularly nostalgic, what belt buckle do you put on? You know what I mean? Is there a particular belt buckle that you like? Oh, I need to wear this one today.
so it's funny. I don't even own a belt, but my favorite belt buckle is is my first one, which is Angela's Crest.
Oh, nice.
Which
What year?
what year did I run it? That is a good question. Maybe 2016.
Okay.
And my wife just told me. See, she knows my race schedule better than me. And so Angela's Crest, super hard race, and if you do sub 24, they give you a solid silver belt buckle.
Okay.
And not too many people have accomplished that task, because it's a fairly challenging mountain race, and I trained
Yes, it is.
really, really, really hard for that. I
Nice.
got 23:45, so I got sub 24, and I think I got like 13th place. But
Dang. For your first one, man, that's
yeah,
great.
well, it was yeah, I mean, it was like a goal that I had for a long time, and I didn't
Yeah.
just jump straight into the 100-mile distance. I did all the, like, did a lot of 50Ks, a lot of 50 milers, a lot of 100Ks before. I really wanted to make sure my first 100 was like
Yeah.
perfect, in the sense
Yeah.
that I put everything into it.
Yeah.
And I still had a disastrous day at points, but I was really able to hit it hard. And um, yeah, so that one is always the most special. Plus,
That's cool.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those moments in my life where I worked so hard for it, um, and it worked out. So,
That's awesome.
I like that feeling of knowing that I put everything into it, and
Yes.
was successful. So,
Yeah. Okay, next question. What about those bone conducting earphones that you wear? Do you recommend them, and what are you listening to?
I mean, so I don't necessarily ever recommend any gear, but I will tell you that I love them. They're
Yeah.
beyond my GPS watch. They're my favorite piece of tech that I've ever used.
Yeah.
Mostly because I hate having things in my ears.
Mm.
I hate the idea, like back in the day, because I've been running for so long, like, I've always had to use headphones in my ears, and like the sweat builds
Yeah.
up in there, and then you get like that
Yeah.
weird ear infection thing, or like you take your
Yeah.
headphone out in the sweat, and I hate it. So, they're not like, it's not like listening to like Bose speakers. So if you're an
Right.
audiophile, I wouldn't say
Yeah.
like you're going to put those on and be like, oh my God, the sound is so crisp. Like, your ears still work. So the advantage is, like, you can listen to music and have a conversation. You can
Yeah.
listen
So
to
that you
music.
do feel connected to the outside world with those.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't lose connection to the outside world. So cars, mountain lions, bears,
Yes,
whatever,
that's what I'm interested in.
yeah, you're still, I mean, you can hear a rattlesnake. So all those things are good. They have amazing battery life. Like, if you
Oh.
have, like, I normally, run them at about 50%, uh,
Hmm.
like, sound, and like, I'll get them to last 9 to 11 hours during a race. So, I mean,
Dang.
that's quite nice as well. Yeah, I love them. I don't recommend gear, but, like, I think they're great. They don't work in loud environments, though. So if you go into a gym, if you go into an airplane, they're not going to work, because your ears are more powerful than your bones.
Yeah.
So, just
Sure.
realize they have a purpose, and that purpose is essentially running. But don't
Yeah.
think that, like, you're going to go into a noisy gym and they're going to work the same.
Oh, that's good to know. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll end with a compliment. You already know that you're an inspiration, but I will say one of the most inspiring things about you is your ability to grow a handlebar mustache. I would give anything when that thing shows up. I'm always so stoked because my I don't connect very well right here, so I can never have a handlebar. So
Yeah, well, I don't either really, but I just keep going and it just kind of grows over. But yeah, my wife hates that every year. But we have a mustache growing competition at work, and I'm
oh,
like,
nice.
so I always do it like once a year, and yeah, it's getting whiter and whiter as I get older, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
man,
I'm getting that too as a
yeah,
41-year-old. It's
yeah,
crazy.
it's rough, and it's weird too because I grow like a red beard, so it's like I have like brown eyebrows and like brown hair, and then like I grow this red handlebar mustache, which is just always a bit bizarre, but you know, every year
Those
my wife's like, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do
not
it."
this year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
But
I love it for what it's worth.
all right, good, good. One vote for the mustache.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate your time, and all joking aside, you are definitely an inspiration to me and to a lot of people, and so it's fun to talk to you and hear some words of wisdom for my next attempt. But
What
I
is
really
your next
appreciate it.
attempt?
The Zion 100 miler on
Okay,
April 13th.
that's a good
Yeah,
one. I know a lot of people have done that as their first one.
that was
So
my first attempt, and I DNF'd, and then I went back and I finished once,
okay,
and so I'm going back to you know to
yeah,
get see if I can get it again.
cool, cool.
Yeah. So we'll see.
That is a beautiful area,
I
and
know it's my favorite. I love that desert run. I've never done any of the Vipa stuff, and I know they're great race directors. Someday I'll make it down there. I see you there a lot on social media, but
yeah,
for my money, I love those Southern Utah races. I'm in Salt Lake City, so it's a relatively quick drive.
sure, sure, yeah, yeah. I mean, Utah is just stunning. All the races I've ever done there, I'm like, is this real
Yeah,
life? Yeah, it's
yeah, it
not.
is. I definitely take it for granted.
Yeah, well, you probably don't, but when you go other places, you're like, I live in a really beautiful
Yeah,
spot.
I live in the best. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Well, right on, man. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a good dinner run and a good evening with your family and all that you have planned. So,
Thank you.
yeah, man. Take care.
All right.
See you.